call the meeting of the Ascension Parish Council to order Thursday, May 3rd, 2007. Ms. Fontenot, would you lead us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Be honored to do so. Father, as always, we come before your throne, giving thanks for this great and wonderful parish in which we live in. Father, as always, we ask that you bless our troops that are across the way fighting for this country and for our freedom. We ask for their safe and quick return home. We pray for all those that volunteer their service, those that are elected to serve, everyone that's serving to make this parish a better place. We ask that you bless them and give them wisdom. And Father, we ask that you secure our gates and our boundaries with your glory, and we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. This is May the 3rd. I may have misspoken today. We have Mr. Kent Shakespeare, who is absent with excuse, and it appears that everyone else is in attendance. Appreciate everyone coming tonight. The chair's additions, we do have two-thirds items that was presented to me. One by Mr. Oliver Joseph dealing with the West Ascension Drainage Cooperative Endeavor Agreement that will need to be put on the agenda for ratification.
I move to amend the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Adrian Thompson. This is, I'm sorry, it is the Utilities District, excuse me. Consolidated Utilities District. This is an agreement to lease some space for you gentlemen. Any opposition to putting it on the agenda? None, certainly we'll do that. Let's put it under general business, if that's all right. Be agenda item number 15A. Another agenda item is actually a proclamation that I've been handed by the parish president, and it is to proclaim Soil and Water Stewardship Week.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved
Second.
by Mr. Berger, second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Any discussion? Any opposition? And we will certainly put that under proclamations. We have one already, and we'll put that right under the proclamations, which will be 5B. Okay, any other two-thirds? All right, we'll move on. Chair's, the public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any of the agenda items, please see our parish secretary and sign in, and please note the agenda item you would like to speak on, and we will certainly allot you 3 minutes to do that. We'll move now to the presentations. A proclamation, Air Quality Awareness Month in Ascension Parish. I have the proclamation here in front of us. Ms. Suzanne is not here. Parish President, would you like to read the proclamation, please? Air Quality Awareness Month.
Got out of that, son.
Or we can have Vice Chairman Savoy read.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To proclaim Air Quality Awareness Month in Ascension Parish. We have a bunch of whereases now, guys and gals. Whereas poor outdoor air quality can threaten the health of our citizens, and whereas it is estimated that 1 out of every 3 people in the United States may be at risk of experiencing problems from ground level ozone, a contributor to poor air quality, and whereas children, people with lung disease, older adults, and people with heart disease tend to be more vulnerable to outdoor pollution, it would be beneficial for people to learn more about the effects of air quality may have on their health if they fall into one of these sensitive groups, and whereas utilizing the air quality index is simple and free of cost, and whereas more than 500 Louisiana residents work at the Geisman plant in the day-to-day operation, and most employees have homes nearby, with Ascension Parish being especially popular, and knowledge of the air quality index can help protect our community's health, and whereas the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and Ascension Parish are supporting efforts to encourage Americans to utilize the Air Quality Index, understand what causes poor air quality, and make strides to improve the overall outdoor air quality. Now there be proclaim I, Ronnie Hughes, President of Ascension Parish, State of Louisiana, by virtue of the authority invested in me, do hereby proclaim May 2007 as Air Quality Awareness Month. And all members of the Parish Council on all these proclamations now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Motion.
Motion to accept the proclamation. Second by Mr. Savoy. Any opposition? Certainly there is none. We appreciate the reading of that, Parish President. We'll move now to the agenda item number 5B, which we added, which deals with the Water Stewardship Week. Mr. Savoy, why don't you read that?
Soil and Water Stewardship Proclamation. Whereas our well-being depends on the production of ample food, fiber, and other products of the soil. And whereas the quality and quantity of these products depend on the conservation, wise use, and proper management of soil and water resources. And whereas protection of our water and pollution depends on sound conservation practices. And whereas conservation districts provide a practical and democratic organization through which landowners take the initiative to conserve and make proper use of these resources. And whereas the conservation movement is carrying forward a program of soil and water conservation in partnership with many private and public organizations and individuals. Therefore, I, in full appreciation of the value of our soil and water to the public welfare and desiring to honor those who protect those resources, do hereby proclaim April 29th through May 6, 2007, Soil and Water Stewardship Week.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by moved by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Savoy. Any discussion? Certainly there are none. We appreciate the two proclamations and hope that people are aware of what we do with our water and certainly our air. It's very important to us all, that's for certain, especially in an industry-laden parish like we are in. We'll move now to agenda item number 6, the Parish President's Report. Parish President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the council and others here tonight. And just speak to a moment about the air quality issue. We met with the Secretary of Environmental Quality the other day, had lunch with 5 parish presidents in the area since our last meeting. And at the national level now, this is really important as we think about this in our parish. We are in ozone non-attainment within Ascension Parish, as well as 4 other parishes. And EPA is, and with various court cases and regulatory changes taking place and congressional consideration of adjustments to the Clean Water Act and other issues, we're not really sure right now exactly what's going to happen in our area in some respects. We've made significant strides in cleaning our air to meet the 1-hour ozone standard. And now there's talk about the 8-hour standard, which went into effect last June. Already talk about another standard. And so there's a lot of things happening that our citizens need to be aware of, do all that we can to help protect our environment, but we may also need to be involved in contacting members of our congressional and legislative delegation, depending on what comes down the pipe with these new standards. But we have not fully implemented the 8-hour standard from last June, and now there's talk of changes to that already. And obviously, as Councilman Valentine says, this can have a huge impact in the industrial corridor with a lot in our parish. Now, having said that, let's get some real positive news. Our Bicentennial Festival was held since our last council meeting. We estimate probably 100,000 people went through that festival. A huge success, and we want to thank all those who came out that Friday night to be recognized. I want to thank all those who really worked as volunteers. We had over 500 people, mostly Ascension Parish residents, who volunteered throughout that weekend, and we want to recognize them. The great work that they did. We had very few people being paid to help do things there. Most of the work was volunteers, and the key people we did have being paid were key people to do the staging and arrange the entertainment and so forth. 2 of our members of our parish associates worked for the parish were very instrumental, Ms. Sherry Kinchin, our Recreation Director, and Ms. Betty Rope, our Public Information Officer, who became officers in the non-for-profit corporation that we formed to really help put on this event. So when you see those two ladies, please commend them. An event of this magnitude, obviously you're going to have some little things, glitches, that's to be expected. For the first time to do something this large, we thought it was very successful. And we hope that most of our citizens appreciated the efforts of all those people involved. Yesterday, and it's hard to get this on the agenda because it just happened yesterday afternoon, but as you know, we've been working with the wastewater issue for over 3 years now. And the Corps of Engineers, who had received funding through Congressman Baker's office and through what's called Section 219 and the STAG grant that had been here for a long time, we've been working on to try to spend those monies together so we could develop a better plan and implement our wastewater program. And you should have received a copy of a letter from the regional office in Dallas. We have been approved. Our environmental, what's called an EID, which is something that is very necessary in order for us to move forward with wastewater in the parish. And this letter was dated April 27th. We received it May the 2nd. The environmental review process for the facilities proposed under assistance agreement, and I'm not going to read all these numbers, is complete. No comments were received during the comment period following the issuance of the finding of no significant impact. Therefore, we are approving the facilities plan for this project that includes the following facilities. And ACUD number 1, the distribution system we're working on, Hillsville Community Wastewater Improvements, Darrah Sanitary Sewer System Project cost shortfall, where we can use some of those funds from the STAG grant, and wastewater planning and tie-in of the Ascension Parish Jail to the city of Donaldsonville. So this is something we've been waiting on for quite a while. And we met with them and the other consultants involved with this. They also presented to us a capital improvement business plan. They'll be working on with I understand they're going to meet with the Utilities Committee of the Council next Tuesday night. They will come to the finance meeting next Thursday to present to you a comprehensive wastewater plan for Ascension Parish. And then we plan on asking the council to take action on this to adopt a master plan the first meeting in June. So you have an opportunity either to visit the Utilities Committee meeting next Tuesday, finance meeting next week. Since a lot of their research had been done prior to Hurricane Katrina and Rita, and obviously our population has been impacted significantly since those storms, I've asked them to go back and make sure that the numbers they're giving us and the work that they've done to make any necessary adjustments based on the population increases, which have grown at a more rapid pace than they were prior to the storms. But this is very exciting, and I know you guys you'll have some handouts for each of you to look at this, and it'll be a financial implementation plan as well as a master business plan for wastewater. The third thing I'll just say tonight is that earlier this morning in the parish, there's some local businesses in commemoration of National Day of Prayer. As you may recall, Congress, I think in 1952, designated the 3rd of May as the National Day of Prayer. And at the Lemon Center in Donaldsonville this morning, many people gathered. I think most of us kind of forget about this at times. Hopefully we've all prayed since last May 3rd. But the day is the National Day of Prayer, and what they did, those people who put this together, they prayed in 5 areas in our society, government being one of those, and the leaders. And so we remind all of our citizens about this, and that it was 400 years ago last Sunday, as they pointed out, that the first people came to America. And one of the reasons, the primary reason they came here was freedom of religion. And so we have a great heritage that's based on prayer. And so we ask all of our citizens in our parish to recognize that this day as the National Day of Prayer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Parish President. Any comments, any questions of the Parish President? Yes, Mr. Thompson.
One, President, has BASF donated the property for the comprehensive system yet?
I don't know if we've actually, got the deed and that kind of stuff, Mr. Thompson, but they've made some very strong commitments to do that, yes. And I think they were kind of waiting to see on some development in the area before they finalized everything, but my understanding is they are ready to move forward on that.
I appreciate if we have that information at our next utilities meeting.
I don't think we'll have it Tuesday night, but we'll check and see.
We'll work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Thompson. Okay, we'll move now to agenda item number 7, the consent agenda. Adopt the minutes of the regular meeting, council meeting of April 19, 2007. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Moved by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion on the minutes? Any opposition? So moved. Move now to committee reports. The agenda item number 8, Utilities Committee, Committee Chairman Jared Barriger.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to pass on A, and the next utilities meeting will be Tuesday at 6 p.m. That's it.
Thank you, sir. We'll move now to agenda item number 9, Personnel Committee, Committee Chairman Jerry Savoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the Personnel Committee met May 1st. We heard we heard interviews for appointments, and coming out of the committee unanimously for our Fire Protection District number 3 board, we recommend appointing Mr. Jack Harris.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Hillensback, second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Any discussion? Mr. Jack Harris. Any opposition? Mr. Harris is approved.
There was 2 openings for the Tourist Commission. Ms. Susan Phillips and Mr. Robert Judas reapplied. It was unanimous coming out of the Personnel Committee to reappoint those 2.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Thompson. And that would take in both of those reappointments. Any questions? Any opposition? Both are reappointed. So moved.
There are 2 openings for Waterworks District number 2. The Personnel Committee took up Ms. Jan Wagensback, which is on the board already and wishing to be reappointed. The committee voted unanimously to reappoint Ms. Jan Wagensback.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Thompson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ms. Wagensback is so reappointed.
Ms. Uette Miles is on the board. She is up for reappointment. We took no action pending confirmation of residency in the district, so we'll take that up at a later date. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Savoy. We'll move now to agenda item number 19, Recreation Committee, Mr. Oliver Joseph. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, we have no report, but the next Recreation Committee meeting is Tuesday, May 8 at 5 o'clock at the Annex Building.
Thank you, Councilman Joseph. Agenda item number 11, Transportation Committee, Ms. Fontenot.
Likewise, Councilman Valentine, we did not meet. I do want to recognize in the audience our new DPW director, who was not available last time for he was being honored out of town. I want to recognize Mr. Bob Turner and welcome him officially. And also to remind the citizens that we do have a transportation meeting on May the 8th, 7 p.m., at 6:30 p.m. immediately following the Utility Committee meeting. All are invited to attend, or they can view on Channel 21 Cox E-Tel live. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fontenot. We'll move now to agenda item number 12, Strategic Planning Committee. In the absence of Chairman Shakespeare, Councilman Barriger will take this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 12A, we have amendments to idle no-wake zone ordinance. The 3 amendments would be A, Black Bayou at the location of Stringer Bridge, Parish Landing, 300 feet on either side of the landing. You want to take these up separately or as a group?
Yes, sir, let's take them up separately if you don't mind.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Savoy. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
Secondly, we have Bayou Francois at PJ's Landing, or current name of establishment, 300 feet up current of dock and 300 feet down current of boat launch. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
We also have Severio Canal, 300 feet on each side of Rogers C. Road Bridge.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert. Second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
12B, we have the responsibility and criteria for closing Ascension Parish waterways due to hazardous conditions.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Fontenot, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
And Mr. Chairman, that completes the strategic planning report.
Thank you, Councilman Barry. Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize Chairman of River Commission, Ben Bivin, and Mr. Dalton Coffin.
Glad to have you gentlemen here.
Thank you.
Doing an excellent job. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. We'll move now to general business. Agenda item number 13, grants. We have Mr. Chuck Montero. I believe, Chuck, you're going to take this from Ms. Collins. It's a resolution authorizing the application for 2007 assistance to the firefighters grant program. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Chuck on this? You have this in your packet.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second it.
Moved by Councilman Barriger.
Thank you.
Second by Councilman Thompson. Any discussion?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Any opposition? So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chuck.
Chuck, you left off the hook there, buddy.
Told you need to come, Chuck.
We'll move now to agenda item number 14, bids. Ms. Monty Burrell. First one is A, all steel railroad bridge deck flat cars. Ms. Burrell.
We received bids on the rail cars, and one bid was received from Diversified Rail Car. We recommend accepting that bid.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Barriger.
Second.
Second by Councilman Adrian Thompson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Bids are accepted.
We also received bids on polyethylene pipe. 2 bids were received. We recommend accepting the low bid from Coburn Supply.
Coburn Supply.
Make a motion.
Moved by Councilman Savoy. Second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion? Any opposition? Bid is accepted. So moved.
We accepted bids on concrete culverts. 1 bid was received from Capital Concrete. We recommend their bid.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Barriger, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Bid is accepted. So moved. You have a question, Councilman Savoy?
I have a question that probably will have to be answered later on. Whenever we take bids for culverts or pipe or something like that, can it be identified if we're approving it for the drainage board, or since we're using the same purchasing department?
Yeah, they're under our umbrella because it's in the contract that we do their purchasing.
So whenever it appears on the agenda, can we have it identified for now? Okay. That's all.
You understand, Ms. Burrell? He just wants you to specify
Yes.
this for the drainage board. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. The last one?
The last one was for pharmacy services for the jail, and we accepted bids, and we recommend accepting the low bid from Diamond Pharmacy.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Savoy. Discussion. Yes, Ms. Fontenot.
Did we not have anybody locally apply?
Yeah, there was 2 bids received, 1 from Landry's and 1 for Diamonds, and in your packet is a comparison sheet of
Yes,
how.
ma'am. It is in your packet. For the council, if you'd like to look over that. I know several councilmen have asked me about this particular one.
If I could say something, Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If you see,
Councilman McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Even though these bids are qualified bids and were received on a timely basis, are we in order, are we legal that we can maybe extend this process here? And I'm going to ask you just straight out and honest, one of our bidders was not aware of the bidding until it was almost closing time and did not have the opportunity to put together a bid that we felt was perhaps adequate. And I'm not trying to stack the deck by any means, but I really believe in doing business locally, or at least giving an edge to local business, and I want to know, are we legal, are we kosher in extending this process?
I don't think by law we can do that. It was in all three papers for 3 weeks, but Ricky's here, he can answer the legal aspect.
This wasn't required to be bid, but we bid it. We've always followed the rule, if we're going to bid it, we're going to follow the public bid law on bids. The bids were made, the bids are in. You can accept the bid. You can reject all bidders for cause. You cannot reject bids because you don't want to. Cause could be we don't have the money. Cause would be we don't want 2 ball fields, we want 1 ball field. You can only reject for cause. If you reject for cause, you need to state what the cause is, and at that point in time, you'd have to rebid. But, you know, that a disadvantage to one bidder is usually wouldn't be qualified as cause.
A moment, Mr. Chairman, if I still have the floor.
Yes.
If the comment was made by legal counsel that we were not required to bid this, but we bid it nonetheless. Can you elaborate on that, please? If we're not required to bid this?
Let me,
It was
Mr.
bid to
Chairman,
give- it
let
was
me
bid-
address that.
No, please, I have the floor, and I have a question addressed to the
Yes,
legal counsel,
that's correct.
Mr. Chairman.
My understanding is purchasing bid it to give more in-parish vendors an opportunity to receive the work. Both, just to open it up. Instead of contracting with one individual pharmacy from in-state or out-of-state, they did a competitive bid process to open it up to more potential vendors and to also give the parish the best deal we can get.
And to open it up to all local vendors and so forth, were notifications made, or was a notice strictly put in the official journal?
Notice was given pursuant to Louisiana law. It's published in our official journal. That's how we post bids.
You still have.
I'd like to listen to more debate. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
No problem. Okay. Parish President would like to say, Ms. Fontenot, you had the floor a while ago and I took it away from you. Go ahead.
Ricky, I just wanted to ask.
Yes.
I
Just stay
wanted
up
to
there,
ask,
Mr. Babin, please.
Would requesting to send it back to committee be a probable cause, or the fact that we didn't know about it ahead of time, you know, as a council, could we request that it be sent back to committee?
If you feel that the bid, that the services that you are purchasing, if you're not comfortable with them, you may want to use some other method of purchasing pharmaceuticals for the jail, then that may be cause. I haven't researched all the, you know, for the possibilities, but it needs to be tied to the services delivered, not to advantages or disadvantages of the bidders. So if you're not comfortable, if you say, I may not want to do it this way, in these Englobo services, you may want to do it some other method, that may be cause. So, but I would not state as cause that somebody didn't know.
Okay. One of the things that I'm concerned about in reviewing some of this information in the past, it seemed that we were trying to get a lower price for the drugs that we were supplying the jail with.
Yes, ma'am.
But we did not realize that we were sending drugs back to this company that was out of state. And that's supposed to be like against the law. So, I mean, there's some things that we might need to review before we make this final decision.
That provision is in the Louisiana Administrative Code, and that provision provides that once the drugs are dispensed, they may not be returned. That is debatable as far as the extent of that. I believe pharmacies in the past have taken the position that inmates aren't dispensed drugs like you and I. They don't get 50 pills to take back to their cell for obvious reasons, security. They get one per time they take them. They're dispensed per dosage. So I believe if our jail facility is an extension of that pharmacy, they may or may not be dispensed at that point. That is, We put the bid specification in there to allow the parish to save money, and everybody bid with that same procedure. It's unlawful for the pharmacies to, if they have a legal problem with that, that would be something that they would address. We're talking about here blister packs. We're not talking about, bottles containing pills. They're individually wrapped blister packs that are there. So if one pharmacy is okay with it and one is not, I know they're both aware of the rule. We put it in there originally because I thought, if we could save the parish money by what we didn't want is that someone has a condition, they're dispensed from the pharmacy 30 pills that cost $10 a pill, they stay in jail 2 days, they bond out, we're stuck with it. So that's the reason it was put in there. And that's the thought process of why it can be done. Yes, ma'am, we are familiar with that Louisiana Administrative Code rule, and we looked at it thoroughly. There's very little law under it, so I can't tell you the extent of, I'm certainly not an expert in that field, but we talked to several experts, and they said that position may indeed be tenable, since they don't dispense all of them at one time.
It also costs to dispose of whatever's left over once an inmate gets out. It costs us, the parish, to dispose of any leftover medication. So it would actually cost us more money not to get the credit for the drugs, because we would have to dispose of it, and we got to pay for that.
Right. Did the local pharmacy realize that they could take the drugs back?
It was in the bid specs.
Was it in the one the last time?
This one, yes.
This one?
Yes.
Right.
We accepted the bids based on that condition for everybody, every bidder.
Okay, Ms. Fonda?
I'm
Thank you.
finished for now. For now.
I'm sorry?
I'm finished for now.
Okay, Councilman Hildenbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we do return drugs, when we're doing this shipping, as Ms. Fontenot has stated, are we bearing the cost? Because if we're bearing the cost to return it, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay.
That's why we put that provision in there.
Because we didn't want to have these drugs sitting around the jail that were there, and then we had to pay to dispose of them when we can get credit for the actual medication. As long as it's in the blister pack and it hasn't been dispensed to the inmate.
Right.
And the nurse's station is like an extension of the pharmacy.
Okay.
And we don't know the bidder's thought process.
Right.
Whether they take them back and destroy them themselves and do not redispense them as to not violate that LAC rule if they perceive that LAC rule to be there, all we know is we bid it to give us a credit. So that it may in fact be built into their price. I can't tell you how they are internally going to operate, and you know what I'm saying? I mean, it may be a situation where they're not going to redispense them. They may say we're not going to take the chance of interpreting this rule this way or that way. We bid it that way to give us the credit for it. Whether they destroy them when they get them back or they redispense them, not our concern. Once we get credit for it, it's out of our jail. It's back in their control and custody.
Right. Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Another question. Downside of, let's say we reject all bids and just bid over. Legally, can we defend ourselves? And can we win? Or are they going to file suit? Of course, I know you don't know what Diamond T is going to do, but what's your best guess? And can we win if we just reject all bids and start over?
You can reject all bids if you have cause. How solid your cause is, I'll reserve that under the color of confidential and privileged communication between attorney and his
I
client.
have a problem going into executive session. Of course, I think everyone knows sitting around here how strongly I feel about doing business locally. And I'm not saying let's reject the bids and give it to the local firm, but I'm just asking you point blank, do you think we can win? If we need to go into executive session, I'm prepared to go into executive session.
I just said that would be something Mr. Our attorney
you
would
like to-
disclose in executive session on, but I don't think we headed that way.
Well, wait, excuse me.
Go ahead, sure.
Is there something you would like to speak with us about in executive session? I'm asking you. And Mr. Bowden, don't shake your head. Let him answer the question. Okay, you shaking your head, no.
I'm going to say whether we go into executive session,
I
and
know.
I'm not going to executive session on this issue, Mr. Hillsback.
Wait a minute, Mr. Valentine.
Mr.
Point of order, Mr. Valentine.
Mr.
Point of
Babin,
order.
Mr. Babin, answer Mr. Hillsback's question so we can move on, please.
we cannot go in executive session. You can only go in executive session on an issue of legal demand. Once demand has been made or a suit has been filed, no demand has been made because we're at the bid process, so we've never really geared up to litigate since we haven't even accepted or denied the bid. The case isn't even justiciable yet, and there's been no suit filed, so technically we can't go in executive session. Whether I would advise you that some reason, stated cause, is good or bad, I would rather not make that statement, except under the cover of privilege and confidential communication between attorney and client, which could be done in writing.
Okay, now I have a question of you as a parliamentarian. It's not up to the chairman as to whether or not we go into executive session. It's on a motion and a vote of this board. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because there are so many questions about this particular process, also there have been questions raised that we have not brought up tonight, but there have been questions raised in previous bid processes on this pharmacy issue about evenings, weekends, holidays, emergency pharmaceutical deliveries that I think this council is not aware of, that I feel that is cause because there is considerable misunderstanding on this council about all of the machinations and the workings of this particular bidding process, about how delivery of pharmaceuticals are handled on an emergency or after hours or holiday basis. And considering that to be what I feel cause, I would like to offer a substitute motion that all of these bids be rejected for cause, and that this entire bidding process be referred to the executive committee of this council for consideration so that we can better understand the process that we are working on.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Moved by Councilman McConnell, substitute motion. Second by Councilman Hillensback. We discussed substitute motion. Parish President has been, I should have let him speak before substitute motion, but unfortunately he made it, so we're going to go by parliamentary procedure. Parish President, you got the floor.
Thank you. Put a little perspective on this. This goes back 2 or 3 years. I think all of us want to do business with local business.
Some more than others. Go ahead, Mr. President.
But the...
Hold on. Mr. Hillensback, please keep your comments to yourself. Parish President has the floor.
We have met with several pharmacists. To put this in historical perspective for you so you can understand it, when I took office, I was approached by people who've been working in this situation, and they presented to me what we were paying at the parish prison for pharmaceutical costs.
Can you pull your mic down, Mr. President?
Do what?
Pull the mic down.
And they have
Pull it
two...
down lower.
Hold on. Mr. Hillensback, please refrain from interrupting again. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. President.
Thank you. We had 4 pharmacies, 2 on the West Bank and 2 on the East Bank. No one could tell me how this process has been selected. It is true, as Ms. Burrell and Mr. Babin have stated, we do not have to bid this. Not required. When we looked at the pricing between those 4 pharmacies, and each had it for 1/4 of the year. When we looked at, and the things that we looked at was, let's take this drug that is used a lot at the prison and compare that. And we get some say, pharmacy A, B, C, and D. Pharmacy A may have been charging the citizens of this parish, and you and I, and governing authority, $40 for that prescription. Pharmacy B may have been $15, the quarter they had it. Pharmacy C may have been $12.50. Pharmacy D may have been $52. And so we met with, invited all these business owners to meet with us and to talk about this and what is the huge discrepancy here. And you recall probably 1.5 years ago that this governing authority voted to give all the business to Diamond, okay, because they handle the parish prison in Baton Rouge and several other parishes. Now, since we did that, since you did that, and we delayed it starting it, trying to still work with local pharmacies to find a way to be fair to both them and our citizens. And I'm comfortable as parish president, 7 to 10%. Local business, similar to what the state does on some of their contractual contracts. And we have been negotiating back and forth. We probably spent more time dealing with this issue. And so the prices were so varied. And they can't get together and give us a fixed price because that would be collusion. And so what we have been working with them on for 2 years now, what process could we put in place was fair to everybody and we get a reasonably priced product for our citizens. And so what we had arrived at, and if you had read your material in your packet before the meeting, you would see this average wholesale price. And so we asked, well, let's bid it out. Let's be fair to everybody. We have more than 4 locally owned pharmacies in town. We have a bunch of other pharmacies in town. And no one could tell us how we arrived at those 4. And we had others who wanted to be part of it. And some of the 4 didn't want the other people to have a chance. And so how did we do this was fair to everybody? So we come up with this system, meeting with some of the local pharmacists. So is there something out there that's like a sticker price on an automobile? And they said there is a wholesale price. And that changes regularly. They can't guarantee that will stay that way for 2 months, much less 2 years. So we say, okay, even though we don't have to bid this, to be fair to everyone who's interested, let's bid it out based on that wholesale price. And you tell us what you will charge us for a period of time based on those wholesale index. And so that's what we did. So all of you need to just understand the process. It's really not a legislative matter as much as it's an administrative matter. It was twofold. One, to try to, as Mr. Babbitt, I think, said here, Bonnie, one, we was trying to do business locally because what our experience has been, Bonnie, and where are you right now? How much less would our cost since the council voted a good while ago to go put it all with Diamond? What's the price differentials been compared to what we were paying before?
It was a 30 to 40% difference in pricing.
Okay.
In the past.
And so I don't think 30 to 40% is something that we want to live with. And so 7 to 10%, I'm comfortable with that, to do business with local business and money recirculation in our community. So this process was put together to do 2 things. One, give every local business an opportunity to be part of it. And number 2, at least make sure that we're getting a reasonable price for our taxpayers' money and what we're paying at the prison, and not to be 40 to 50% more. So I just wanted to give you that historical analysis. And this has been at least 2 years we've been working on this thing. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me explain that.
All right, we have a substitute motion and a second. Yes, Councilman Hillensback.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me say, Ronnie, I was asking you to pull the mic down because you were reverberating
Mr. Hillensback,
completely.
just please stick to that.
I'm getting there, Mr. Valentine. I have the floor, thank you. If we're going to do this, if we're going to accept this 7 to 10%.
Excuse me, Mr. Hillensback.
Yeah.
We're going to show respect around here. You have the floor, but I am the chairman, and I can take it away from you at any time. Now, I don't want to have to get a sergeant of arms at the council meetings just to control you. So would you please get to your point and quit making any other innuendos on Mr. Hughes or anybody else?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to the comment, Ronnie. I did read the packet, and I saw where the price differential was there. I had that information. We were given that. I know in the previous administration we were bidding out receiving recreation equipment over the internet, and from a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of this is inferior equipment. And if we're going to accept 7 to 10% over on drugs, which I agree with you, that's a good idea. We need to do that on all items that we purchase.
The only thing that you're allowed to do that on is state contract items. It has to be exact brand, like say a Ford F-150. We can buy it from All-Star versus a Ford company in Alexandria because of the delivery time and all that. That is the only way you can buy something locally. If it's an existing state contract, it has to be a Ford F-150 if that's what's on the bid. It can't be a Dodge.
Right.
That's the only way.
Right. Okay.
You can't just pick something and say, you know, if it's not on state contract, we can't use that law. If we bid it, we can't use the 7 to 10% for a local bid preference. That's not allowable.
Right, okay. All right, thank you. And Mr. Babin, I'd like to thank you for your parliamentarian rule that it does take a vote of this council to go into executive session. That's something decided by the
Mr.
council.
Hillensbeck has nothing to do with
Thank
what
you.
we're discussing.
Thank you.
We put in our specs, and I don't know if Ricky wants to answer this about the receipt, that it has to be, the prescription has to be filled within 24 hours, and they also have to allow after hours and emergency holiday phone number for prescriptions to be filled. So I don't know if he wants to answer that or not.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Any questions of Mr. Babin dealing with that? I have a motion, substitute motion, and a second on the floor. Do I have any opposition to the substitute motion? Hearing no opposition, substitute motion passes. I will address this by sending this to the executive committee, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Hillensbeck, and Mr. Savoy, I think, is the executive committee. I would ask that, Mr. Savoy, you call the meeting as soon as possible and come back with a recommendation to the council. Okay?
Mr. Chairman.
We'll move on. Agenda item number 15, resolution to give Dugas and Associates permission to apply to bonding commission for $11 million bond. This is dealing with the jail. You have some information in your packet. Anybody needs an explanation?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Berger, second by Councilman McConnell. Any discussion? Yes, Councilman Hillensbeck.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. I guess I need a little bit of an explanation here. This jail expansion started out recently, as far back, a good many months back, at a 100-bed expansion. Then, obviously, there were some meetings took place that I know I wasn't privy to. I'm not speaking for everyone on the council, but we were hit at the last finance meeting with an invoice asking for payment for a 240-bed jail expansion. And I understand now we're talking about maybe as much as a 300-bed jail expansion. And Mr. Savoy alluded to some meetings that had gone on, but I don't believe this council had ever met and decided in committee. And I guess I'm asking for some more information, Mr. Valentine. I think you might have been privy to some of these meetings, but
Past President and myself was both in the meetings. This is really a preliminary resolution. As I understand, Ms. Dugas, maybe you can explain it a little better, to give to expedite, and I guess Mr. Toops is also here.
Sean should represent the firm. Yeah.
Thank you. What it does is it basically starts the process. It's a resolution to authorize up to $11 million. That doesn't mean that you have to borrow $11 million. It just allows you to go up to that amount, and it also sets a limit on how far out you can go as far as the payback period and the interest rate.
Right.
It's just a ceiling.
And I appreciate that, Mr. LeBlanc. I'm not taking a position either for or against. We have many needs in the parish, and certainly the jail is one of them. Tonight, all we're doing is allowing them to go ask for ask for permission from the bond commission that we can bond up to $11 million. This council has not yet formally voted whether it's going to be a 200-bed expansion, a 300-bed expansion, or anything.
That is correct.
But I was just curious, where was it decided, Mr. Valentine, that all of a sudden this appeared on the agenda and it had not come from finance?
Well, administration has been aware of it. It hasn't been finalized by this council, obviously.
I know that, but where?
But the problem that we have is the bonding commission, as I understand, only meets once a month.
Okay.
And so we need to get something in place so that we can continue the process of Garrett, Grace and Abear and Associates as far as their architect design and
Right.
dealing with that.
And I understand that, and we have a committee process, and we have timelines, and I'm just asking, you know, who put this on the agenda? Because I don't see the parish president's name by it. I don't see anyone's name by it. Where did this come from? Who put it on the agenda? Did you take it on yourself? Because we have not met and discussed this.
It was discussed between the parish president and I. We put it on the agenda to move the process forward. Parish president, you want to say something about it?
Well, and I appreciate your concerns, Doug, and let's try to all, again, put this in a little context for us, okay?
I'm just asking for that information. Thank you.
2 or 3 facts. Number one, we only have $1 million in the 2007 budget for the parish prison expansion project. Okay, that's what we have. So, and as Chairman mentioned, in the process of discussions, and we appointed, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, a group called the Justice Coordinating Council Committee. Remember, we had a company came in, Justice Concepts, to meet with all the stakeholders in the judicial system. As the governing authority of the parish, you were responsible for providing a jail, and the sheriff operates that jail under our Louisiana system. Now, I guess that jail technically could be a barge in the Mississippi River with fences around it. I mean, as I read the law, and there's all kind of court cases, okay? So we have $1 million in the present budget that this body approved last fall, and the parish administration submitted to you. But in the process of the discussions, it came to light that a 100-bed expansion with the type that had been talked about by this coordinating committee, and there's people on the council, and there's people from the administration, people from the sheriff's department, people from the probationary department, people from the 23rd Judicial District Attorney's Office, and people there from the judges. Talking about, in lieu of building more jail space, how can we improve our system and save money for our citizens, okay? And so they have been doing this for quite a while. Now, in the process of, since the budget was passed and some of the committees that were taking place, and I was not in all those meetings, okay? I was in several of them lately. And it was discussed that a 100-bed expansion probably would not be in the long-term best interest of the parish. And the architect has been working on several different, let's just call it A, B, C, and D. And the parish administration, Department of Finance primarily, working with our financial consultants, are trying to come up with some scenarios, if you would, on how we would pay beyond the $1 million in the present budget if this group decides to build a bigger expansion. Now, I would be the first to admit that some of this has been a little awkward. You know, but we certainly have a need, and we don't want to throw $1 million at an $8 million problem. I'm just using that as an example. So I would recommend a couple things. Maybe this would help. One, maybe the chairman, vice chairman can appoint a specific jail expansion committee to work with the administration and work with the coordinating council. Maybe that would be something to make sure everybody feels included in this process. What this resolution does tonight is simply sets a cap. When our financial people and the bond council go to the bond meeting, which is the third Thursday of each month at the Capitol, they authorize up to this amount of money parish government. And there's nothing there that says that this body or this parish will then spend that money. It just says that if this project, whatever this body decides to do, goes up to this amount of money, you have bond council approval, bond commission approval to do that.
Right.
Now, there is a lot of work that has to be done between now and the time we say this is what we're going to do at the jail. And then financially, finding the money obviously is one of the big ones. So let me conclude with these 2 main points. Number one, we want to build something that's going to meet our needs for more than just 2 or 3 years. I think we would all agree on that. Number two, what can we reasonably afford to do now in light of the other needs in the parish? And if we go out and borrow the money, for whatever expansion we do. If you do anything more than 100 beds, and even that now is going to probably cost more than $1 million in the budget, okay? But whatever you decide to do, it's going to take some additional funding. Right. And if we, and finance is looking at 3 options. Number one, if we go possibility of asking our citizens if they want to put a tax on and pay for the jail. Number 2, go through every account we currently have, all the current pots of money, and what do we have there that may be available for this kind of a project. You got the issue of a sales tax, a bond tax, ad valorem. Or do you just go borrow the money and then pay for it from the 1 cent undedicated sales tax that we currently have? And what the financial people are looking at is what revenue stream can we support? How many years if this body decides to do 300 beds, 240 beds, 200 beds, or 100 beds? And what will that debt service be? And can we afford to support that? So maybe, Mr. Chairman, a little committee of 3 or 4 to work with us and work with the other entities involved in this process would be advisable.
Thank you. Mr. Hillsback, still have?
I'd like to make that substitute motion, Mr. Valentine, that you appoint a subcommittee to look at this issue.
Okay.
And because the committee process, again, was not following. A lot of us are in the dark on this.
I'll consider that as an assignment. The substitute motion is not needed. We're on a resolution with 11 million, and I'll just have some comments on it. Let me just say this about what we're talking about. Parish President has explained a lot of it, and there has been some negotiations. I do sit on the Justice Committee along with Mr. Babbitt and some other, Judge Turo, Don Heisel was in attendance. I'm sure Mr. Pierce will take his place on that committee, or whoever Mr. Parish President designates. But we have had some discussions. The sheriff regretfully called me today to say that he would not, he or his chief deputy, Tony Bacala, would not be here tonight because they had another engagement. Otherwise, he could be explaining some of this. So I'm not going to give away as much as he's told me, but this also has to do with some revenue sharing with the Sheriff's Department also, and that's why this council is being proposed this. It's not finalized yet, but we want to move forward because it is imperative that we do something fairly quickly. We have run out and exhausted all avenues to reduce the number of prisoners we have in the jail. And so therefore it is incumbent on us to get the process started. Yes, we haven't decided what it's going to be, 300 or whatever, but the way that the architect has designed this, it is a dormitory type addition to the jail. We have been expropriating property, and that's moving forward. We have some things to do about a ditch that we have to move. So there are things that are going on and taking place dealing with the jail, which is our responsibility. When I say ours, it's council responsibility. Sean, you want to say something?
I just wanted to add one thing, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, that while everything that's been said is absolutely right, this in no way obligates you to do anything. It just sets forth parameters under which you can operate. The other thing is, I think, a timing issue. Although we haven't really been involved in the discussions with regards to timing, as you mentioned, the Bond Commission does only meet once a month. The next meeting is in 2 weeks, but their agenda deadline is actually a month before their meeting. So you actually will have an agenda deadline for the June meeting before your next meeting. So I think that was the reason to kind of get this ball rolling here. Again, just putting you in a position to act. It doesn't obligate you to do anything at all. It just simply puts you in a position. By not acting tonight, it actually would delay you to the July meeting, which I think there was some impetus not to. Thank you.
But I think it's an innovative way. It's a cooperation between different public entities in the parish to accomplish a goal, and that would be to put more bed space in our jail. And compared to the population we have a very relatively small jail compared to other parishes. If you know, Livingston Parish has just embarked on increasing their jail, and you may have seen some of the figures in the paper where it has went sky high as far as the cost of building that. So we don't want to delay any more than what we have to, because we don't want the fire marshal to shut us down. And then the sheriff would have to make decisions on who he had to turn loose. And we can't get to that point. So that's primarily why we're discussing it now. Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The merits of this may be one or other or higgledy-piggledy, I don't know. But This is an opportunity, and it's one of those rare opportunities that I've had the pleasure to sit through in this parish where we have a true cooperation among different agencies in the parish to get something done that can be a positive, good thing for the entire people. And I'm going to support this resolution because, as the gentleman just spoke, this does not obligate us to anything at this moment, but what it does do is it gets the ball rolling and it allows things to happen. And I'm delighted to see a spirit of cooperation among the many entities in this community. And if this is the thing that brings us together, sadly, it's over a jail. But if it takes a jail to bring us all together over something, then I'm all for it. And I say, let's move forward with this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Hilton.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate everything, the explanation that's been given tonight. And again, I think I speak for everyone around the table. We have many concerns in the parish, including we need a larger jail, we need additional parks, we need additional road space that we don't have. So, but again, my concern, the last time we met, I think it was $8 million was mentioned. And it concerned me when this thing started as a 100-bed jail expansion, and we've never one time voted on, this didn't go through the committee process, being hit with this for the first time tonight. I know I speak for many of us. But, Mr. Babin, you have reviewed this resolution, and because it's talking about allows the parish president?
Bond counsel did all that.
Okay. Our legal counsel hadn't?
Our legal counsel, we have our own bond counsel.
Well, I know we do.
He's professional. That's what he does.
Well, I'm just running it by first assistant DA that's here for most all the meetings. You have not read the document. Okay.
Do you need to read the document, Mr. Babin? We'll be glad to supply you a copy of it.
I saw it. Okay, we'll move on.
Typically, I don't think you do, but I thank you. Anything else, Mr. Hill?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Allen.
All right. Any other discussion? Ms. Fonda?
I just want to say I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. McConnell, and I call question on the motion.
Question on the motion. We'll vote on the question on the motion. Anybody opposed? Question on the motion. No opposition. We'll vote on the motion. Any opposed to the motion? So moved. We'll move now to agenda item number 15A, cooperative endeavor with the ACUD. Mr. Joseph, you want to explain that for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. What we have here is ACUD is an Ascension Consolidated Utility District, and currently we had a contract with services with a individual contractor, and he abstained to let us go. And so right now ACUD 1 is operating in under their own management, and we're in need of office space. And this endeavor agreement gives the office space behind this facility right here. And all responsibilities, liability, and everything fall under ACUD 1.
Okay. This is in front of you. I know you just got this tonight, so I'm going to give everybody a chance to look over this. Give you a few minutes.
While we're gazing over, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Berger, second by Councilman Thompson.
And I abstain.
Any other
Chairman, I
discussion?
abstain from this.
Surely. One abstention. Any opposition? Please note, Mr. Joseph. Thank you. So moved. Thank you. And the administration has agreed with that. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move now to agenda item number 16 under planning and zoning recommendations. This is zoning review ID, tracks AA, B1A, and 3, and B1A 2, B1A, 5A, B2, B3A, and a portion of B1A and 5 for Stephen Guidry, located on the south side of Ascension Parish Highway 929, approximately 1,700 feet east of Airline Highway, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential RM to mixed use. This is for your review only. You have that in your packet. We move on now to the introduction of ordinances. Agenda item 17, introduction of an ordinance amending the Ascension Parish Development Code Table, lots with 25-foot building line to be reduced to 12 1/2 cul-de-sac and turnarounds Mr. Bannon.
I move to introduce the
Second.
ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. McConnell, introduced, second by Councilman Barriga. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. The ordinance is introduced. Agenda item number 18, introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed use for zoning review ID 1673.07, Lot A for Walmart located on the southwest corner of Airline Highway and Perkins Road, Louisiana Highway 427.
Motion to introduce.
The ordinance.
Moved by Councilman Barriga to introduce, second by Councilman McConnell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is introduced. Agenda item number 19, introduction of an ordinance amending the smoking ordinance adopted by Ascension Parish Police Bureau in August 1993.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Todd Lambert to introduce. Second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Any discussion? Any opposition? Introduction of the ordinance is complete. We'll move now to the public hearing and ordinances. Agenda item number 20, public hearing to consider an ordinance preventing the obstruction of any fire hydrant by construction, plantings, and other devices so that as to restrict access to firefighters. Legal counsel, Mr. Bannon. Mr. Bannon.
The ordinance reads to prevent the obstruction of any fire hydrant by construction, plantings, or other device so as to restrict access by firefighters, whereas the Parish of Ascension, the local governing authority, seeks to protect the public against fire which poses substantial risk to human life and property, whereas firefighters are in need to have fire hydrants already installed and existing free and clear of obstructions, including but not limited to fences, constructions, plantings of parked vehicles, or other instrumentalities, whereas the blocking or obstruction of fire hydrants causes substantial risk to the public welfare, to property, and to firefighters themselves by restricting the access to water needed to fight the fire. Be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Council hereby adopts Article 6, Obstruction of Fire Hydrants, to read as follows. Article 6, Obstruction of Fire Hydrants. Section 11-200, Obstruction of Fire Hydrants. No person shall block, obstruct, cover, limit access to any fire hydrant within the Parish of Ascension. This prohibition includes, but is not limited to, parking or placing of vehicles between a public right-of-way and a fire hydrant, construction of any works around the fire hydrant, including fences, landscape works, plantings, or any types of construction that impedes the access of firefighters to access to hydrants. Section 11-201, Penalties. Any person who violates any provision of this article shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $200 per offense or imprisoned for not more than 30 days or both. In addition, the Department of Public Works is authorized to send the violator or offender notice to remove such obstructions, and if not done so within 15 days, the Department of Public Works is authorized to remove the obstruction.
Motion to open a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Barriga to open the public hearing, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any opposition to the public hearing? No opposition. The public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on this public hearing, please step forward and sign in with the secretary. You'll have 3 minutes.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Barry to close the public hearing, second by Councilman Thompson. Any discussion? Public hearing is now closed. We'll move now to agenda item number 21, the ordinance.
Move the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Barry to move the ordinance, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. Question? Chairman Savoy. I'm sorry.
Has this been passed through the fire board? Does anyone know if the fire board has had an opportunity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it has been passed to the final.
Every one of them gave us permission, every one of them gave their consent in writing that they like the ordinance and wish it to be adopted. All 3 fire boards, and I believe every fire chief in the
We have
parish
some
has signed off on this.
Councilman McConnell.
And we did discuss it extensively at strategic planning.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any opposition to the ordinance? No opposition, ordinance passes. Moving now to agenda item number 22, we do have a speaker. Oh, I'm sorry, we do not on this one, excuse me. The public hearing would be to consider an ordinance to promulgate the rules and regulations for the uniform installation of fire hydrants in the parish of Ascension and for the proper maintenance of such devices. Mr. Batten.
It's lengthy, so bear with me. To promote the rules and regulations for the uniform installation of fire hydrants in the parish of Ascension and for the proper maintenance of such devices. Be it ordained that the following rules and regulations are hereby adopted for the uniform installation of fire hydrants in the parish of Ascension and for proper maintenance of such devices. Fire hydrants, regulations. It shall be unlawful to install, repair, or test fire hydrants, appurtenances, water lines, or other private or public property except in strict conformity with the regulations of this article, the Fire Prevention Code of the Parish of Ascension, other local ordinances, rules, regulations of the water authority serving that area, federal or state law as amended. All fire hydrants, appurtenances, and water lines shall be maintained in accordance with this article, rules and regulations of the water authority serving that area as amended. Fire protection and prevention, general provisions, installation. All fire hydrants, public and private, shall be constructed and installed in accordance with specifications provided by the local fire chief or his authorized representative. Prior to a development permit or building permit being issued, the local fire chief shall examine the place and certify that the hydrants are installed in conformity with these regulations. The property owners of all newly constructed apartment complexes, townhouses, condominiums, multifamily dwellings, shopping centers, or other commercial or industrial buildings, or portions thereof exceeding 2,000 square feet in building area, shall install and maintain at the owner's expense an adequate number of fire hydrants, the location and number of which shall be determined by the local fire chief or his authorized representative. When deemed necessary by the local fire chief or his authorized representative, all fire hydrants shall be protected as subject to mechanical or physical damage. The method of protection shall be approved by the local fire chief or his authorized representative. The means of protection shall be arranged in a manner which will not interfere with the connection to or operation of the hydrant. Fire hydrants along all roadways shall have two 4.5-inch NST pumper connections facing the side street. Fire hydrants located in parking lots or others alike shall have two 4.5-inch NST pumper connections as determined by the local fire chief or his authorized representative. Whenever the fire official determines that the fire hydrant is not readily visible to arriving fire companies because of the curbside parking, features of terrain, construction, plantings, or other obstruction, the pavement shall be marked to indicate the location. The marking shall consist of the traffic lane nearest the hydrant. On paved street, the blue reflector shall be affixed to the center of the travel lane nearest the hydrant. Access for apparatus to all fire hydrants shall be approved material capable of providing emergency vehicle access and support at all times. The access shall be a minimum of 20 feet wide. All access shall be maintained in a passable condition at all times. In addition, the installation of all fire hydrants shall be done in compliance with the following standards. ANSI, American Water Works Association, Standard 50294 or latest version standard of the dry barrel fire hydrant. ANSI, National Fire Protection Association, NFPA 1403 standard for the installation of standpipes, private hydrants, and hose systems, 2003 edition. ANSI NFPA 24 standard for the installation of private fire service mains and their appurtenances. ANSI Standard 291, 1995, fire flow testing and marking of hydrants. Marking of fire hydrants. Top of the hydrant, bonnet, and nozzle caps of the fire hydrants shall be painted and maintained by the owner with different color application to indicate the water main size. Such colors shall be approved and supplied by the respective fire chief servicing that area. Placement of fire hydrants. The placement of fire hydrants shall be approved by the local fire chief or his authorized representative. Fire hydrants shall be spaced for commercial, industrial, or multifamily buildings so that all proposed and existing buildings will be no more than 300 feet measured along travel ways from a fire hydrant by fire apparatus. Fire hydrants shall be spaced for one or two family dwellings so that all proposed and existing buildings will be no more than 500 feet attached directly to the public water system measured along travel ways from the fire hydrant by fire apparatus. A fire hydrant shall be provided within 50 feet of the fire department connection for fire suppression systems. Hydrants shall be located no closer than 40 feet from any building or structure. Obstruction of fire hydrants. No person shall keep a fence, growth, trash, or other material near a fire hydrant that would prevent such hydrant from being immediately discernible or in any other matter hinder the fire department from gaining immediate access to the fire hydrant. Fire hydrants out of service. Notification shall be made to the fire department prior to disconnection and interruption of protection due to tests, repairs, alterations, additions, and upon completion of such work for uses other than fire protection. All hydrants placed out of service shall be marked by a method approved by the fire department. Testing of fire hydrants. Upon completion of installation and or repairs, fire hydrants shall be flushed in order to remove foreign materials and flow tested in accordance with the American Water Works Association Manual for water supply practices AWWA M17 and accepted by the local fire chief or his authorized representative. All private fire hydrants shall be flushed and flow tested biannually by the owners of said hydrants. Documentation of this activity shall be provided to the local fire department and the fire board. All test flow results shall be submitted to and kept on file by the local fire chief or his authorized representative.
Mr. Chairman, motion to open the public hearing.
Moved by Councilman Barrett to open the public hearing. Second by Councilman Savoy. Public hearing, any opposition to the open public hearing? Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item, please approach the secretary and sign in. You'll have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Barrett.
Having further, earlier conversation with legal counsel, it was the recommendation of legal. There's a few words may need to be changed in this ordinance. He recommended extension of the public hearing, so I'll offer that motion.
I'll second it.
Time.
We'll close the public hearing first. Oh, no, we're gonna move to, you want to extend the public
Yes,
hearing?
sir.
Is that what you're telling me? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, Councilman Barriga moves to extend the public hearing, second by Ms. Fontenot. Any discussion on the extension? Any opposition to extending the public hearing? So moved. We'll extend the public hearing to the next council meeting. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Needing no, anything to be done on agenda item number 23, we will move to agenda item number 24, which is public hearing to consider an ordinance. We do have a speaker on this, Mr. Roland Stevens. This is dealing with a simple division of property. Mr. Stevens, you can approach the mic, please.
Please, the council, what we're trying to do here is simply remove the servitude that was requested for us to be removed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I think that you've all got a plot that shows the servitude being removed, and if you have any questions, I'd be available to answer at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Okay, we'll move now. Mr. Babbitt. To read the ordinance, please.
To revoke the 10-foot utility servitude running east and west, 20 foot north of the southern boundary lines of original lots 2AA1 and 2AA2 as shown on the plat of survey of simple division of lots 2AA1 and 2AA2 of the Jimmy Goche property into 2AA1A, 2AA1B, and 2AA2A through 2AA2C for the Ascension Development Group, LLC, by Lester A. McLean, PLS, dated 12/26/2006. Be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council that the governing authority for the Parish of Ascension in lawful session hereby revokes that 10-foot utility servitude running east and west, 20 foot north of the south property line of the aforementioned lots of the Jimmy Goche property. All other public servitudes affecting said property are hereby reserved.
Motion to open the public hearing, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Councilman Barrett to open the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion on the public hearing? Any opposition? Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on this public hearing, please approach the secretary and sign in. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no one, Councilman Barriga moves to close. Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion on closing? No discussion. The public hearing is now closed. Agenda item number 25. Hold up 1 second. Mr. Stevens, do you want to say something again? No, sir. Okay, we'll move on.
So
Agenda
moved,
item
Mr.
20.
Chairman.
Mr. Berger, excuse me, Councilman Barriga, lovingly known as Berger, moves the ordinance. Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion on the ordinance? Councilman Savoy.
Question, Mr. Babbitt? Sir. Not so fast. As far as revocating this utility servitude, if we support revocating this servitude, this utility servitude tonight, this plat is going before the Planning Commission on Wednesday of next week. If to subdivide this property, if the Planning Commission denies this request for division of property, then what happens with the servitude that we have existing to date?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Would you ask him to come to the mic?
Mr. Hillenberg?
If you revoke servitude, it will be effective 5 days after publication. Servitude revoked, but you're replacing it with another servitude, so you'll be changing location. Not here, we're not. Not tonight. You're gonna do that Wednesday. Not tonight. All we're doing tonight is removing this servitude. Now, what we can do is add pending approval of the planning commission of the requested simple division. Is that not correct?
Technically, that servitude is going to be granted when that plat's filed with that public dedication. The Planning Commission doesn't dedicate servitudes or grant servitudes. Servitudes are actually dedicated upon the filing of that plat with that dedication note in that corner. So it's technically going to be dedicated upon filing. You can put in your motion, if you want, that whatever you choose is subject to certain conditions. But this is an ordinance, and it's going to complicate things.
Today, the parish has a servitude, utility servitude. Today, if we support removing the servitude tonight, we have none. All right. This plat is going before the Planning Commission on Wednesday of next week. Now, the Planning Commission is going to request a utility servitude at that time. Okay? At the time that the simple division is being requested. But if the Planning Commission denies the request, they don't get no servitude, and we've lost our servitude. Seems like.
If you revoke a servitude, the servitude is revoked. My understanding is that when he went to the Planning Commission, they sent him here to get that servitude revoked. So, I mean, it's kind of a dog chasing his tail, I guess, at this point.
I'm concerned about us losing servitude.
Answer your question is yes. If you revoke a servitude, the servitude is revoked. That servitude, that piece of dirt, the servitude over that piece of dirt upon passing of this motion is gone.
And if the Planning Commission denies the request that's up for consideration on Wednesday of next week, we don't have servitude.
If the gentleman's here, maybe he would just agree that if the Planning Commission didn't approve it, he'll agree to rescind it.
Rather I have to amend the motion, the ordinance, to state that.
If the Planning Commission says no, would you be willing to
Sure.
to grant back the servitude?
Yes. It may help the fact that if you notice, there is already another existing servitude on the other side of the property where the utilities are actually located. So this servitude actually has nothing in it right now anyway.
Well, at some point in time, the parish felt the need for a utility servitude right here. That's why it's there. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, any other discussion on the ordinance? Any opposition to the ordinance?
I'm going to stay here till the agenda's completely 100% finished. After you say adjourn, I'll walk
Ordinance
over.
is so moved.
Motion adjourned, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
adjourned by Councilman Barriger, second by Ms. Fontaine.